What's going on there, people? Chrome Alchemist here with a Dragon Ball Fighters video, DBFZ, DBZF, whatever it is you want to call it. And we're just going to dive into one of what I think might remain an underutilized technique, unless, we kind of shed some light on maybe how it really works and the pros and cons of it. That is key charge. Now, key charging has been in every Dragon Ball game. I'm sure if you're half the weeb that I was, you were going back full screen with your friends, holding charge up to full power, and then, you're just going in and you're fighting. But let's assume that the opponent's not going to give you that luxury. So how does it work in this game? Well, if you press light and special, then you will key charge. You can tap it or you can hold it. Now, if you just tap it, like you see there, you will gain 50% of one bar. And if you hold it, then you will just, slowly building a bar until you get to full power. Once you get to full power, the animation ends. Also, when you're at full power and you try to hold it, you can't hold it. It will just go into the set animation that you saw at the start. So what are the pros and cons of these? Now, if you tap it, like I said, you get the 50% of one bar, but during that animation, that is a set animation and you cannot attack, you cannot, I'll show you an example, you can hear on my stick. You cannot attack, you cannot pull assists, you cannot even do sparking. Like, you can't do anything until that ends. So, needless to say, it's a risky maneuver. You're not going to want to just dash into someone's face and start charging, because you're going to get punched in the face and you're going to lose a lot of health. So, yeah, you're going to have to set up a situation where it's going to be safe to get over that initial hurdle of charging that if you want to build bar. But what's stronger about the two, between tapping the button and holding, is that if you hold down key charge and you get past that initial 50% of one bar, rather than having that set animation where you can't block for X amount of time, that has already passed now. Once you get past that, at any point, if you just let go of the buttons, then you are free to block, attack, act in any way that you see fit. So this actually, if you set this up properly, can actually make you quite hard to punish. And it's going to make the opponent want to approach you as well if you are, maybe defensively inclined, or if you just want to build some extra bar relatively safely. Yeah, so here's the example. So if I just tap it, you can see that I'm holding back, but Goku Black was able to hit me with a Kamehameha and I wasn't able to block. But now if I hold, and he tries to do it, as soon as I let go of those buttons, then I was able to block. That was past the 50%, like I said, the 50% of one bar. It's sort of about just over a second. You can actually be quite hard to punish now. And if you have set the conditions right in neutral, maybe you have some things on screen that the opponent might need to, traverse, or they've been put into hard knockdown or something like that, you can build your energy bar with key charge, and if the opponent tries to punish you, it's going to be difficult for them to do so. They're not going to be able to more or less do anything if you are attentive enough and you are, at a good enough distance. So, I can show you some examples of that, some more examples. So, let's say someone sees you charging up and they think to themselves, well, I'm going to vanish. I'm just going to vanish and I'm going to attack. So let's have Goku Black do that, right? So obviously, like I said, with the 50%, you're not going to be able to block during that set animation. So if you cover yourself in some way and get past that, now, let's go past that now. I was able to block instantly. See? So that there means that that's already two options that have been not so much shut down but nullified just by giving yourself enough time to get past that initial key charge hurdle. So now, one thing I will note though as well is that even though you can stop key charging and block, you cannot stop key charging and retaliate like with the crouch heavy attack like you normally might, which has upper body invincibility and beats anything that comes from the air.
The reason being is because you can't attack fast enough from key charging when being vanished upon.
I'll show you that as well. So, see, that was me trying to do that. You could see on the inputs there as well, I wasn't able to do that. So one of the few options that you have against Vanish, besides just blocking, is deflection. Now, you can deflect. Deflecting is active from the very first frame, so it is possible to deflect the opponent away if you really don't want them to be that close to you. Personally, I would say blocking is the more reliable option, since the deflection, even though it's active in the very first frame, it does take some fairly precise timing to deflect the opponent away after the screen freeze on the Vanish. So this can be, it can still be very useful, and it's worth learning, I personally think. So if you want to gain that meter and also relieve a bit of pressure, you can do both of those things. So an example of that would be this. So let's just give that a go. So obviously that's Vanish right now. And let's build some meter. There you go. And that's deflecting. So I'll shut it one more time. It's always better to do it later and not earlier, because if you do it earlier during the screen freeze, the deflect won't come out. See, and that one was mistimed a little bit. Let's try that one more time. There you go. So then that's how that works.
Right, so I spoke about crouching heavy, or 2H, or whatever you want to call it. The crouching heavy attack that is used as a universal anti-air, and using it out of key charge wasn't quite fast enough to punish a Vanish, but it's of course fast enough to punish, a super dash, which is, one of the most common things it's used against. So let's just go ahead and show that right now. Okay, so I'm going to start charging up. And then boom. Again, I would still say that blocking is the most reliable option. This is obviously a strong option, but you should practice it. I'm going to split the video into 2 parts, so check part 2 for some character and situation specific applications that may be of use to you, might get some ideas going. Until then, I'm Chrome Alchemist, and stay out of trouble. Safe.